Okie dokie, folks. Welcome to Monday Night Shaw right here on Backbreaker Podcasts. This is the first episode of Monday Night Shaw in the year 2022. We took a little bit of a hiatus there over the Christmas. It's not usually my favorite time of year, so I wanted to just relax there, and so we put a hold on all the podcasts and stuff. But we are back today, and what a guest I have. One half of the fellas from the Dad Bod Squad from Monster Pro Wrestling. It is Rick Jules. Rick, how are you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing pretty decently. How are you doing this evening, my friend?
I'm not doing too bad now, because I've been trying to put this together for a while, and now it's actually just serendipitously worked out that we're doing it right now. So I'm happy.
I'm definitely happy for that. Yeah, we're definitely trying to make that happen for a little while, but it's okay. We got through the crossed wires and we made it work.
Oh yeah, there was challenges. There was challenges too, because I forgot completely what your shoot name was. So I was contacting you via Twitter. Then I looked up your work name on the Facebook Messenger, and you have a page for your work persona, but you don't. It's not like you can't audio message the person via that page. So then I was like, oh no, brother, I can't find you on Facebook. And you're like, man, we're friends on there. And then you just popped up, and I was like, oh yeah, that's who that is. And I was like, yeah. So anyway, thank you very much for coming on the show. I love doing these podcasts where it's like inter-promotional cross-pollination stuff,
Right.
I feel like there might be some forbidden doors in Alberta, but not via the podcasting. Over the podcasts, we talk to whoever we want, whenever we want, and it's wonderful.
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, when we were still doing the Dad Bod Squad pod, you joined us last year there. So I'm all about talking to whomever about whatever. Yeah, there may be some Alberta forbidden doors, but at the same time, we're just a couple of folks sitting down for a chit chat. Nothing more than beyond that, really. Yeah, and I had a tremendous time when I came on your show. It was you and I remember Blake Cannon was there, and your tag team partner and whatnot. So it was a tremendous time. Are you guys still doing the Dad Bod pod? Okay, so this will be the first place that I actually talk about it for a second. So we kind of went on hiatus because there's a period of time where just all three of us sitting down to put together a new episode every week and covering the whole week in wrestling was getting kind of monotonous, and it was getting kind of taxing to just do that every week. So Crowder and myself have talked about rebranding it.
Oh, okay.
And we're looking at bringing it back, I think, within the next couple of months here. And I'll let you guys in on so instead of doing what we've been doing, which is reviewing the week in wrestling, we thought we'd lean a little bit more into our wheelhouse and trying to be a little bit more entertaining. So the concept that we have for everybody, I'll give you the exclusive sneak preview, is we are going to watch intentionally bad wrestling pay-per-views, the ones that we know are awful, like Vince Russo era WCW pay-per-views, for example, and give our reviews on bad pay-per-views so other people don't have to watch them.
Oh, fair enough. I'm glad you didn't say we're going to watch a bunch of Canadian Goose wrestling matches. Wait.
That's okay. I'd have to put mine out there on blast too. So
yeah. That sounds tremendously fun. There's a lot of really entertaining bad wrestling out there. That's the one thing I love about wrestling, is that even though sometimes it's bad, it's still entertaining.
Well, that's exact. I'm looking for the entertaining in the bad. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm also a glutton for punishment. I've always loved the whole so bad it's good concept. So I'm going to see how many of these we find that are just straight bad, or if there's just hidden gems in them somewhere.
Yeah, I hear you. That I can't really think of any great examples. When I think of heroes of wrestling, I can't think, oh, what was the top match on that card? Because even the top match on that card was atrocious from everything I've heard. But I can definitely think of instances where the wrestling was not super great, but the entertainment value was through the roof for sure. It's like
there's got to be something somewhere.
You ever seen that movie, The Room?
Yes.
Yeah. That's the kind of stuff that I like too sometimes. I watched this movie called Disaster Artist. It's all about the making of that movie. It's fantastic stuff.
I've heard about that.
I'd like to see like a movie about just like the most awful wrestling show being put together.
Oh, that'd be kind of amazing though. Like just something like that.
Yeah. I mean, they've got some great shows about like putting wrestling together and stuff. Like there's a new one called Heels, which is pretty good. And then Glow was fantastic. And I guess Glow was probably not the most, like, you're not seeing Chris Benoit versus Kurt Angle matches on Glow shows. But I don't know if I would go quite as far as to say it's bad wrestling. You know what I mean?
Right? No, I'm looking for stuff that's infamously bad. Like, we're digging for the worst of the best or the best of the worst or really just the worst of the worst. So far on deck we're looking into like the Vince Russo era of WCW. That's kind of like our takeoff point.
I can think of some pretty atrocious stuff that was going on back then. I even was like alive when some of that stuff was happening and would actively like watch Nitro and stuff. I remember I did watch the episode of Nitro when Vince Russo and all his boys are out in the ring, and then Eric Bischoff is like, "Are you done yet?" And he comes back, and then they decide that they're going to join forces and strip all the championships from everybody and like start anew. And it's like, what the fuck is going on?
Right? Oh, that like the Millionaires Club and the New Blood, but like. They decided they're like, okay, we're gonna have the vets be the baby faces and all the young guys be the heels, and that'll definitely get them all over.
Yeah. We've got all these really crazy, like massively over main event, like bad guy, like good guys, and then we're just gonna feed the young fellas to them. Right. Yeah,
just nailing it.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I remember too when they did the movie Ready to Rumble for WCW, and at the end of the movie, there's this big cage match that has a three-tier cage, and I remember busting a gut seeing that in the movie theater, going, "Oh my god, how ridiculous is this? A three-tiered cage? Oh my gosh!" And then like go home and watch Nitro. Like 2 weeks later, they've got the actual three-tiered cage on the show, and they're hyping it up like it's the next coming of the Hell in the Cell. And I mean, I felt bad because like they actually did a match where Chris Kanyon got like booted and tossed off like the side of the three-tier cage and went through the staging and everything, and it was like an incredibly like dangerous bump. It was on par with the Mick Foley off the Hell in the Cell thing, but I venture to guess most people probably don't remember that it even happened. Right?
Oh, that's far too bad.
Yeah. I mean, I feel really bad. Like whenever anyone takes like a huge, crazy like bump where that guy was probably feeling that for a pretty good like length of time. And he probably felt it for longer than it was remembered, and that's real sad.
Kenya was one of those guys too who didn't get like enough credit for anything he ever did. Mm-hmm. So just to know that he went through that and knowing that like, again, he probably got no recognition for it. It's just tragic, really.
Yeah. So, I guess we should get into the wrestling side of this whole wrestling podcast. You have been wrestling with MPW for some time now, and I'm just wondering, when did everything start for you?
Okay, so I go back to, let me do the math here. So 2010, although if I really trace back my origins, I attended a PWA mini camp in 2009. And if my memory serves me, which I'm old and various other things get in the way, so occasionally I forget. But I believe in that mini camp that weekend, there was Tex Gaines. Tex was running it.
Oh, solid.
Yeah,
I like Tex Gaines.
Strife. There's a bunch of guys where it's like that was my first time encountering them. Sometimes some of them I've only encountered like once or twice since then. I believe Slammer was there. Strife was there. That's the first time I ever actually encountered Kato. Oh. and then we would find each other years later.
Kato is one of my favorites.
And then he and I got like stuck to each other for a couple of years, so that was awesome. I can't ever say enough good things about Kato.
Yeah, no, I absolutely. I'm just gonna stop the podcast right here just to praise Kato because he's one of my favorite people to be in the ring with. He anytime he's trying to he'll come to the training center and he'll show me some things. Even when Metal and MRB are in the ring, maybe working with some of the other students, Kato will be outside and he'll be like, okay, lock up. Break, hit me with the chop. He's so calm about everything, right? And just his whole cadence. Whereas sometimes when you're out there, it's like, okay, lock up, hit the guy with a chop, smash him, right? And then Kato's just lock up, hit him with a chop. It just sets that speed and that cadence for you. And I can't get enough of wrestling with Kato, and he's always super positive about everything too,
Oh, he's amazing. He is one hell of a learning tree to sit under and just learn from. This is our obligatory put over Kato segment, and I really feel like this needs to be in every episode going forward. Just here's 2 minutes of just putting over Kato.
Yeah, and this is not the first time I've done this on Monday Night Shot, where I just stopped to be like, yeah, Kato is one of my favorite people in wrestling. He absolutely is.
Yeah, no, he is wonderful. I absolutely adore the man.
I got to team with him last weekend. It was a 6-man tag, me and him and Squig against not MRB. It was me and him and Squig against Tony Machete, Dean Richter, and Vince Austin. I don't know why I thought MRB was in that. That's he was not involved at all. But me and Squig did a double choke slam on Tony Machete, and Kato came over and did a backstabber on him at the same time. It was our big triple.
Nice.
Yeah, and it was Kato's idea, and it was a great idea.
I love the way that dude thinks. He's just he's always outside of the box. Everything he does is always so smooth. He's unreal. For anybody local who have for whatever reason has never had the chance to see him perform, do it. You're missing out.
Yeah, and he has a tail on his costume, which is also something that pops me so hard. I mean, as a guy that wrestles with feathers on quite regularly, I'm very, very into the whole fact that he wears a tail while he wrestles and everything. I guess I should just say I have actually spoken to Kato because we tend to ride to the arena together quite a bit and stuff. So he's gonna come on Monday Night Shaw here. It's just a matter of me getting everything set up and whatnot, and we're gonna talk because he's had some cool experiences. Do you ever see the video of him and Andrew Hawk in the match with what's his name? Samurai Del Sol, Adam Cole. It's Kato, Andrew Hawk, and 4 guys that are now in AEW. It's crazy.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, no, I definitely got to find that.
Yeah.
That sounds unreal.
It was amazing. I watched it and I was like, it was crazy too because when you watch it, they send out the first 4 guys, and then then after that they send out 2 other guys, which is Kato and Andrew Hawk, right? And the ring announcer has no idea who Andrew Hawk or Kato are. So it's they were added to this at the very last second. And I talked to Kato, and he was like, yeah, Teddy Hart just told the promoter to put his boys on the show. And I was like, that's amazing. The ring announcer literally is announces Kato is Teddy Hart's hitman.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. I could. So many of my stories, so many of my stories involve Kato that it's just.
So you did, yeah.
Let's double back to the beginning.
Okay,
so, yeah, I did the mini camp. I did try to keep training with PWA for a while. I just the communication wasn't all there back in the day, which this was like 13 years ago. So no big deal. But I wanted to keep doing it. Like, I'm not naturally the most athletic guy, but having been a wrestling fan my whole life, I was like 23 at the time. So I figured, if I'm going to do it, I'd rather, find a way in now, do it now, and then I won't regret it later on for having let it pass me by when I'm in my 30s. So then I went to an MPW show, and after that I spoke to Massive after the show. Got in touch with them, and about a week later I was in their training ring. So it took me probably about from the mini camp to the show, it was probably 6 or 7 months, but eventually I got in there and I made it happen.
So it was 6 or 7 months before you had your first match? You trained for 6 months?
No, it was about 6 or 7 months before I went from the mini camp to actually training full time.
Oh, okay. Once you started training full time, how long did it take before you got your first match?
I started training in February. I want to say, oh God, I have the DVD of it somewhere. I want to say it was June or July when I had my first match.
So it's still pretty fair amount. Like, that's still a few months.
I had two solid people guiding me through it at the time too, because it was the original Diablo. And the Wild Child Tyler James in a triple threat, and they were able to guide me through it. I got a decent, enough reaction for a debut, and I got through what I needed to do. But my first couple of years, my first 2-ish years, I couldn't quite make it click. I couldn't make it work. I had no idea who I was, as a wrestler, as a persona, as a gimmick. I had a name, but the name didn't mean anything. And by the time I kind of started to figure out being a babyface and try to, get myself over with the crowd, the Edmonton fans had kind of given up on me. I was able to work for other territories. I was working for Pure Power Wrestling in Lethbridge. I was working for Gold Dragon Wrestling out in Moose Jaw. And I was doing okay with their crowds. But by the time I was getting bookings with them, I was kind of starting to find my feet already. Mm-hmm. And by the time I started to figure that out, the MPW crowd had kind of They had just, at this point, they were not going to accept me. The boat had sailed, and I most certainly was not on it.
I feel like that's fair. I had I went and I wrestled in Calgary last weekend, and it was the first time I wrestled there since August, when Nasty Nate hit me with a chair, and I got my whole head got cracked open, and I had a really horrible concussion and stuff. So when I came back from that injury, I kind of slowed it down and just was doing Edmonton shots for a while, right? So last weekend I did my first shot back in Calgary, and I was back in before that I was pretty over in Calgary, so I was expecting a hero's welcome, and I came out and they were not really, there was people that were just kind of there, and then I walked up to the first guy trying to get hyped. It was honking in his face, that's how I get people going. I just stand there and honk, and they usually get with it, and everybody starts honking. This guy sat on his hand and was like, no. And I went all wide-eyed and was what, thinking to myself, what the fuck? What am I supposed to do now? I just turned and was like, "You guys over here, honk, honk, honk," and it was a rough night. I'll tell you, I was like, this was strange because it's the first time where it's like, don't get me wrong, I've had a couple of times where it's a bit of a lukewarm one, but that was the first one where it was like, oh, they don't like this. So I hope I'm gonna have to think of something else to like think of something to spice it up down there in Calgary, because they have loved me before, so I could probably get them to do it again. It's just gonna take some creativity and whatnot,
Oh, dude, I've definitely been there. One of my favorite moments was an MPW show we were working, I believe in Lloyd, and. It was the first time I had worked the raunchy Rick Jules gimmick in years, and it was me versus the Cheetah Bear Jude Dawkins. And we're opening on the show, so we figure, okay, we'll get the crowd going, not necessarily with like big match stuff for the opener and with a crowd that doesn't know either of us. We're just going to be big characters, and we're going to let them latch onto that.
Yeah,
and. I've aged a bit, lost a bit of hair, so it wasn't like the bleach blonde. So we definitely took a more it was almost like a more gender fluid approach to Rick Jules as I came out, where it was definitely like part of it was presented very, very feminine. I had a valet with me, and so they send me out first, and my music hits, and no matter how hard I'm trying to work this crowd on my entrance, they are loving me, and they are loving the valet, Raunchy Rhonda, and we're standing in the middle of the ring, like waiting for Jude's entrance, being like, what's like, how are we gonna do this? What's gonna happen?
Yeah,
and then he comes out. And I love Jude's presentation. I don't know if it was just like the beat, like the music that he uses, just like has that slow build to it. And he comes out, and they're booing him, and he's making his rounds, and they're giving it to him. And we get in the ring, and I know we're standing across from each other, looking at each other, and we have this. It's one of a few moments in my life where I know we're in the middle of a telepathic conversation as to how are we going to play this? Do we lean into this and switch roles, or do we like double down and try to switch the crowd?
That's exactly where I was with that whole thing with Tony Machete. Is I was like, I feel like if these people are going to be like dicks about it, and they're wanting to boo me when I'm clearly, fair enough, I am pandering for cheers, but they're not going for it. I was like, if they want to boo me, maybe I should give them something to boo, right? But I was also like, it was me and Tony Machete, and we're both fairly green wrestlers. Like, I've only been doing this for like 3 years, and Tony's been doing it a little less than I have. So it's like, I don't want to confuse the shit out of Tony and just be like, we're switching roles here. I also don't want the promoter to come to me and be like, "Well, hey, what the fuck?"
Yeah, right.
But also,
so
like,
what do you do?
afterwards, I talked to Squig, and I was like, "Yeah, this is what happened." He was like, "Oh, you should have just healed off on them." And I was like, "Well, I considered it, but it didn't happen." So, yeah. But anyway, so what happened with you and Cheetah Bear?
In that case, we doubled down when we were in the ring together. We rested on our characters. Like, I firmly believed that I was. Once they realized that Raunchy Jules, the core of how he operates is big flamboyancy and is just a complete chicken shit. So once I'm standing across somebody who, standing across the ring from somebody who looks like Jude and playing it like I want absolutely nothing to do with him, they were all over me.
Yeah, yeah, Jude is amazing.
That's where we got him.
I really like Jude's whole presentation with like the fur that he comes out in, and like He's got the crazy light up helmet, and he's also like super jacked and has all these tattoos and stuff, and is the kind of guy where you look at him and you're like, yeah, I would not like to meet him in an alley because he would absolutely kill me. But I got to tag team with him in Grand Prairie, and we had a heck of a time. It was so fun. Like, Jude and I hate to I'm not trying to make Jude feel bad or look bad or anything, but me and Jude kind of have almost a pretty similar like act. Like, we both throw the big headbutt. That's one of our big signature moves. He does this like barking noise and flails his arm in a certain way, and I do a honking noise and flail my arm in a certain way. So it's like honk, hor, rah, or whatever noise he was making. I think it was like it wasn't huss, but it's something similar to that. And it's not honk, but it was something like in between huss and honk. And so I would do honk and he would do his huss thing. And it was a really good time. And I even I got some fur to wear on my knee pads after that match, because I was like, I should be a little bit more like Jude Dawkins here. So I'll get some fur to put on my knee pads. So nice. it was a lot of fun. And then the next time I went and wrestled in Grand Prairie, I teamed up with Steven Styles instead of Jude Dawkins. So I don't know if in the realm of Canadian Wrestling's Elite, because this was for CWE, not RCW. Yeah. So I'm not sure if in the realm of CWE, if me and Squig and Jude are a 3-man group, or if me and Jude have split our ways and I'm now tag teaming with Squig exclusively. I'm not sure, but either way, fun times. But I definitely I do love the fact I absolutely love Jude Dawkins. I think he's fantastic. But it sounds to me like
it's another putting another guy over segment, because Jude is another guy where it's like I've got nothing but good things to say about Jude. Every interaction, whether it was like in the ring or in the locker room, is just like, he's a guy I look up to. He's a guy I love working with. He's a guy who, I'll ask for his opinions on the stuff. I'll bounce ideas off of him when we're sharing a locker room. Like, he's a dude that I will always take the chance to be around if I get that chance.
Yeah, 100%. I'm very I'm a very big fan of him. It's like, I even had like a situation a long time ago when I was first, I don't even know if I'd started wrestling at that point, if I was just ring announcing, but some of the guys were online and they were kind of ribbing me and stuff, and he came on and was like, "Hey man, just they're just ribbing you, just don't take it personally and stuff," like he was trying to reassure me and stuff. So like, Jude Dawkins are good people in my mind,
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I'm like, just like hearing about your match with him and hearing about how everything went down, I feel like me and you wrestling would be a lot of fun. Hey
man, I'd 100% love to give that a shot for sure. I'm more than willing to take a pounce, that's for sure. That was one of my favorite things we did in that match.
Oh, did you give you a pounce?
Yeah.
Solid.
It was so good. I loved every second of that. But no, I'm at this point I'm happy to get in the ring wherever I get the chance. It's kind of been a bit of a hiatus. I don't think I've wrestled. I think the last time I wrestled was last August, if I'm right, if my math lines up correctly.
Okay.
There were a couple of things getting in the way. I couldn't work in September because my wife had a guest spot at a tattoo shop in Fort Mac that weekend, and to me it was more important to be out there helping her out with that than being at the show. The next month kind of fell apart, and then ever since then, I was in talks with that Love Wrestling show, but I'll admit, I'll tell the whole world here that I stepped away from that show. COVID numbers being what they are, and I've got some family members and some loved ones who are either hard of health or they've got immunocompromised issues, and I just don't want to put them at risk to do something for myself.
That's 100% fair.
Yeah, right. It's not the case like that. I don't want to do it. I absolutely want to do it. It's just I feel selfish doing it for myself and putting myself in a position where I could get one of them sick just because I want to do something for me, you know. So I'm just waiting for, at this point now, you know, the right opportunity to present itself, and you know, for the timing and everything to be right for me to kind of get back into the ring. But it's I sent a tweet out the other day, and I'm 100% not done. And you know, I'm primarily a tag team wrestler. I'm happy tagging with Crowder until, I don't know, I retire or die or both, whichever. But you know, I do have a list of dream singles matches with guys that I absolutely want to try to manifest in the next like calendar year. If I could make these happen, you know, by like February of 2023, I'd be pretty psyched. I'd be over ecstatic if I could get all. I think there were 6 of them.
Okay, so yeah. This is like a Cody Rhodes style checklist.
Yeah. I've got a 6-match checklist, a singles match checklist that I really want to make happen.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm not going to just let you go on that. Like, you're going to have to give me some names here.
All right, so we're going to dive into this. Okay, I've got one that I've been fighting for probably at least a year and a half, if not 2 years. You guys have him as your RCW hardcore champion, Danny Evans there. I've wanted a death match with him for like probably 2 years now.
Oh, wow. Have you wrestled in a death match before?
No. It's on my bucket list of matches that I want to have happen. I've done tables matches. I've done like last man standing. I actually was in like a casket match in PPW too, of all things. TLC was my favorite. We did a tables, ladders, and chairs. That was myself and Crowder versus Lumberjack Larry and Mitch Clark. And that's like in my top 5 matches of my whole career.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But a death match has always been on my list. Like, I'm not going to lie. I'm sitting on a box of light tubes at home in my basement, like just waiting for the opportunity to present itself. Like, I love being in those hardcore environments. Like every year at the Retribution show, MPW's main event is a Fans Bring the Weapons Battle Royal. Mm-hmm. And that's like my favorite match of the year. I love being in that thing. I stick around in that match for as long as humanly possible.
I went and watched one of those once. I live in Alberta. I live in Edmonton, and you know, I am friends with some of the people in MPW. So I actually went and watched one of your Ripper Royals there one time, and it was a good old time. It was fantastic.
It's a hell of a time. But yeah, no. So a death match with Dangerous Danny Evans. Trying to make that happen, manifesting that into the universe. I've got another hardcore / deathmatch dream opponent as well, which is the Thickness Reed Matthews.
Oh, okay. I see. Now, I don't know. Maybe I've been to a couple of PWA shows for sure, and I think for sure he's probably wrestled for their variation of the Hardcore Championship. But when I think of Reed Matthews, I just think he's an awesome in-ring technician wrestler. Like I don't think hardcore guy, but
I'm pretty sure he was their Mayhem champion. Mm-hmm. It's he and I have actually bonded but during COVID, I should say, as streamers. Because that's what we've both kind of, focused our efforts on,
right.
During this pandemic era, and we've gotten to each other's streams in our chats talking about this hardcore, this death match, and as far as I can tell, he's on board for it. He'll do it too, and so he's become one of my must-have singles matches. I know athletically, he's out of my league, but you put me in an environment where, everything's a weapon and that disadvantage kind of melts away a little bit.
I hear you. That's another crazy thing to me. Like I think Reed Matthews, again, just to put somebody over, he's like one of these guys who doesn't exactly look like the most athletic dude, but then he starts to wrestle and you're like, holy fuck. I remember I saw him do a lion salt and I was popping. I was like, well, you know, this guy's out here doing lion salts. This is crazy. He's like one of those athletic guys. And I find it inspirational because I also consider, you know, like I'm not trying to say anything bad about Reed Matthews, but homeboy does call himself the thickness, you know? Yep. He's kind of a fat guy. I'm also kind of a fat guy, so like I saw him do it, and I was like, I need to learn how to do lion salts, and you know, I've done it. I've busted one or two out in training. I've never actually landed on anybody, but I've done it, and I didn't break my neck. So, you know, that's a lot of that goes to like a guy like Reed Matthews, where I look at him and I'm like, he can do amazing things, and that just means that if I work hard enough, so can I. So he's one of those guys where I'm like, he's an inspiration. You know?
Oh, that's where I'm at too. He 100% inspires me because I'm a fat guy. I shouldn't be able to do that, but you know what? If he can, you know, maybe it means that I can do it too. Because he is just an unbelievable athlete. It blows my mind anytime I've seen him wrestle.
Yeah, he's fantastic. The only match I was ever in with him was the clusterfuck at Clandestine, but he's the one who, you know, and I'm not trying to like kill the magic here, but he's the guy that was out there kind of keeping everyone else on track, you know. So
I believe that.
Yeah,
I 100% believe that.
I would very much like to wrestle with him or tag team with him again and be involved in matches with him in any way I possibly could, because again, he's one of those guys who you just can't go wrong.
No,
so
right?
we've got hardcore match with Danny Evans and hardcore match with Thickness Reed Matthews. Wow, what are the other 4 matches you got on your Cody Rhodes bucket list there, Rick?
Okay, so we're at the end of the hardcore matches. I don't need anything gimmicky from this point on. I do have 4 more singles opponents.
I think you could have great singles, like one-on-one, non-hardcore matches with those guys as well.
Oh, I believe that for sure.
Yeah, but like just by adding the hardcore stuff, I think that would definitely add to the cachet. But let's move on to
I'm just greedy, and I want them because I like having fun with them.
I'll be honest. There's 2 guys I would like to have hardcore matches with too, and I'm not a hardcore wrestler. It's not worked out for me on the few occasions I did enter hardcore matches. It was not good, but because I ended up getting walloped with chairs and just like concussed really badly. But anyway, there's 2 guys that I would like to have hardcore matches with, and that's Colton Kelly. I would really love to have a hardcore match with Colton Kelly and the Viking Lord Vince Austin.
Yes, Vince, and it's you know, it's funny that you mentioned Colton Kelly too, because on that tweet that I sent out, somebody jumped on my match with Reed Matthews and was like, "What about a triple threat with Colton Kelly?" And like my first reaction was to send that Archer meme of Krieger that says, "My penis can only get so erect." So I was like, "Somebody book it. I'll do it. I don't care. I will just let them murder me for 15 minutes. I don't care."
Solid. Well, we should do a 4-way at the next Love Wrestling, and you, me, Reed, and Colton.
Oh yeah, let's just die. You got to know though, like I'm in it to. I'm not going to do all the like crazy high flying spots, but I'm going to do the stuff that like none of us should have like any right doing. Like when we were doing, not to you know pull back the veil too much or anything, but when we were you know putting together that TLC match, Crowder and I were just trying to one up each other in what we were taking. He eventually won, but the point was it was like we were trying to see which one of us was going to die faster.
I feel like my big suggestion or spot would be like, yeah, then me and you both climb to the top of the ladder, and I give you a headbutt. Like that would be my suggestion.
That's what I got.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So 100%. Like that's I'm game for those. I'm 100% down with those. Okay, so before I forget, my 4 other singles matches in the next calendar year. Here's where we're at. I want to go 1-on-1 with Magnificent Mitch Clark.
Oh, okay.
He and I have had a couple of tag matches, and his debut singles match was against me.
Oh, okay.
And so much of our personal landscapes, our wrestling landscapes have changed since that day. I really want to see what would happen. He is one of those guys. There's 2 guys on this list that are a test of my skill, that I know that I may or may not be able to keep up or keep pace, but I want to do everything in my power to see what I've got in the tank versus these guys. And Mitch is one of them, because he has changed so much from that first match that I feel like it would be vastly different than what happened that first time around. And he's another guy where it's like, I can't say enough good things about him. I've loved sharing a locker room with him for as many times as I've been fortunate enough to do in my career. The number of matches we've had together is way more than I ever would have expected. So I want to cap it off. And now it's his first match was a test to see if he was ready. And now for us to do a singles match again would be a test for me to see
if you can keep up with him. Yeah,
like what I still have to offer in a match that would be, as demanding as a match with him would be.
Yeah,
the same falls for, like, I've got another one on the list that kind of falls into that category, which is Leo London.
Oh, okay.
And that is a test of, he's that shoot wrestler. He's that chain wrestler. He's going to combo one hold into 12 more holds. And am I going to stand there and am I going to take it? Or do I have the ability? Do I remember any of my training, with guys like Phil LaFawn? And am I going to be able to rise to that? Like, he's another one of those, like, milestone challenges. Like, do I have the ability to go the distance with him?
100%. Like, I feel like I'm right there with you. Like, if he's going to try and put me in a dozen different holds, I might have a reverse full for at least one of them. Like,
yeah, right? Like, I'll get out of, like, one of them for sure.
Yeah. 100%. And I think Leo London is fantastic as well. And, he came out here and he did the Love Wrestling thing. And, even back in the day when I was first, like, I'd only had, like, one match. I got in the ring and chained around with him for like, a couple of minutes. And it was like, oh, wow, this guy really, really knows his stuff. He's fantastic. Sure. And, same with the other fella you were just talking about there. Like, if we're going to be putting guys over, Mitch Clark, he just debuted in RCW this last weekend as part of our RCW Big Rumble there, and now I'm very nervous that I'm going to have to wrestle a UFC fighter.
That's definitely how I felt the first time around.
Yeah, I'm like, is he just going to murder me? Because I'm pretty sure he could. But, like, the thing I like about Mitch is I show up and, well, he does, like, I know he's a UFC fighter and stuff. Like, the tights he's wearing, he's got a very 1980s vibe. And, like, I watch his
Macho Man fan. Macho Man.
Yeah, I watch his matches, and it's like, okay, he's doing a lot of, like, old school 80s stuff, and then every once in a while he throws in, like, some crazy UFC thing that you don't expect to happen. And
right.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like I could learn a lot from him, just learning a bit about how to, like, legitimately defend myself and stuff too,
Oh, you definitely could. He is wonderful. And then, okay, so to round out my six matches is, one of them is, it is Destro, the Eskimofo. So there is
Okay, I'm not sure I'm familiar with him. Is he a guy from up north? I've heard his name.
Yes, he's one of the guys from Totally Arctic Wrestling, and we very much seems to develop this very, very interesting dynamic. So last year, I was a part of Big West Wrestling's Tuesday Night Talkdown. And
okay, yes,
I ended up winning that whole competition.
Oh, fantastic! Good for you.
Thank you. I got to put myself over too. But during that time, because they were all promo battles, and I kind of, if you watch from the beginning of the series to the end, I start off trying to be that bubbly babyface, and it didn't get over with their fans that were watching, and the character started to evolve and change, and kind of became this sort of like cult leadery father figure, and that's what started to take off. And I actually faced off against Dez twice, once in the preliminaries and then once in the playoffs. And both times, watching those promos, because it's not like we sent them to each other beforehand. They were paired up by the editors. Both times there was an electricity to them. It was one of those, like, those promos almost created that big fight feel. And I am very, very interested to see if the two of us could take that energy that we produce in promos against each other and have that translate into a wrestling ring. Because if we could, I think we could create something special. And that's what I love is moments that are like that, where it's like it doesn't so much matter about the high spots or how many things you can do. It's you have this moment between two wrestlers, two characters, and the crowd, and everybody is feeling what's happening. And I don't know, I just got that feeling from our promos against each other. And like I said, I really want to see if we can translate that into a wrestling scenario, like an in-ring scenario.
I think that's fantastic. And, I again, just to put people over, like the whole Big West promo battle thing was pretty interesting. I even entered, I did one of them myself. It was only it was one where one of their main guys was like, did an open challenge to anyone or whatnot. So I sent in a short promo for that. But if I had been more on the ball there, I would have liked to have been on there. Like they even I got added to the Big West Wrestling like worker page and stuff. And
nice.
I've never wrestled for Big West Wrestling, but definitely is something I would love to do. Like I feel like one of the main things I like to do is just to go new places and wrestle in front of new audiences, because like usually every time I've done that so far, the whole like I'm excited, and then the fact that I'm excited to be wrestling somewhere new like just permeates, and then the whole room is like, oh, they get with it as soon as I come out. They're like right into all the honking and the Canadian Goose stuff, and it's like, you know, if you haven't seen it, you're really down with it. And I mean, it's one of those things where Calgary, they don't seem to like me no more, but they really loved me at first, you know. So I love going new places and wrestling for places I've never been. But you said that guy was named Destro the Eskimo Mofo. I think that's
the Eskimofo, yeah.
That's also like one of the best, like most creative wrestling names I've ever heard. So props to him just for that.
I love that. He had me at the name alone.
Is he like kind of a like? I'm not trying to offend anyone here. Is he kind of like a fat dude who I figure like sits around smoking lots of cigarettes and is just gonna beat the shit out of you when you wrestle him? You know.
He's definitely like a bigger dude, but like if you ever listen to his promos, you know, or you see his stuff, he very much gives that like that cold, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you kind of impression. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, I like Marty Sugar too. Everything that Marty Sugar has done has been fantastic.
You got to the last guy on my list.
Oh,
that's the last guy on
wow.
my list.
See, like you're an Alberta guy, and I'm waiting for the obligatory. Yeah, I want to wrestle Metal, and I want to wrestle MRB.
Okay. Yes, would I love that opportunity? Absolutely. Do I think if that match was booked right now that I'd be able to walk in there and go with them? Absolutely not. Like I know my physical limitations. I know what I can do, what I can't do.
Yeah,
I would need at least like another solid year back in the ring before I even felt I was relatively okay enough to see if I could last 15 minutes with either of those big guys, because I've seen them live. I've seen everything that they can do. They are incredible
spectacular
athletes, storytellers. They are in a league of their own, and maybe it sounds like I'm buttering them up, and part of me maybe is a little bit, but I'm not saying anything that I don't 100% believe is true. Metal and MRB are guys that are 100% in a class of all their own, and if somebody were to put me in the ring with them, I would do absolutely everything and anything they asked me to, and I would just be there to see if I could keep up. But yes, are they dream matches in the right situations? 110%. Am I there yet? No. The reason these guys are dream matches in the next year are these are matches that I believe that I could physically have within the next year and make them great. Not just good, but great.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. And that's not to downplay any of these guys that I could get in the ring with. I just, myself as a performer on the other side of the ring, I don't believe that I could give a great match to guys like Metal or MRB. I believe that these guys on my dream match list, given the stipulation, especially with like the hardcore matches in the suggestions, that I could give them a great match as an opponent.
You see, I feel like, and I'm not trying to downplay your response here. I'm just saying I feel like, because I have wrestled with like Metal a few times. I've never one-on-one with MRB, but I have wrestled Metal a couple of times, and I feel like they're so good that they know what you can do, and they're going to figure out what you can do, and they're going to make magic happen, regardless of whether or not you can do like a million internationals or Canadian destroyers or 450 splashes. Like those guys are just so good that they can make magic happen, with whoever they work with. And I think that's one of those things that I love about them. And my last match I had with Heavy Metal was super nerve-wracking for me, because I was in the same boat as you. I was like, oh my god, I'm not prepared for this at all. But then I remember back to like the first match I ever had in Calgary was a match against Heavy Metal, and it was just kind of made on the day, and we went out there, and it was one of the best matches I've ever had in my whole career, and it's probably not one of the best matches he ever had, but it was definitely one of the best matches.
The best ones you had, right? Yeah.
Oh, 100%, yeah. And so like I do psych myself out about it, because like those are two guys where yes, I absolutely 100% would love to be in the ring and wrestle with those guys, but I do, like, I feel the same way as you. Like sometimes I don't have the greatest cardiovascular wind on me. Sometimes like I'll do 4 or 5 things, and then it's like, oh boy, the rest of this is going to be challenging,
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
No, I feel that.
And with those guys, I feel like they can go like 50 or 60 things before things get challenging for them,
Oh yeah, before they even break a sweat, right?
Yeah.
So
But I see how hard they work and practice and train and stuff too. So like 100%, like they deserve everything that they get, and I hope that one day that they're not even around here anymore, because they've gone on to greener pastures. Like both Metal and MRB 100% have the ring skills to be in WWE right now, and
Oh,
or
definitely.
AEW. And I'd love to see. I'd love to see them both in AEW more than even WWE, just because of I've also seen their promo skills, and I know that in an AEW situation they're going to have a little bit more say into that than they would in a WWE situation. But despite that, either or for them would be fantastic, and I'd love to see them achieve that.
Right? It's like I definitely would hope that for them, because they are
And I'm not,
definitely on that
yeah,
level.
and I do think I should probably preface this and try to and make sure that people don't get me wrong. And like, I'm not trying to say that Marty Sugar isn't deserving of your top spot, because I would love to wrestle Marty Sugar. I think me and Marty Sugar would have a fantastic, like, just a good old time. But I also feel like it would be a very old school character based good old time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's any time I've wrestled him, and that's why I love those matches, because it's like I've as a baby face, as like a dad who's gotten like heavier than I used to be, for the fact that I'm like 5'9" and like 220 pounds, I've kind of started to take on this sort of like mini Haas ring style, where it's like it's power moves, and it's gone less from like being stylish to just like hitting each other. So like that's the match I'm gonna get out of Marty. Like we're gonna beat each other up, and I'm gonna love every second of it. And he and I go way back, because right before myself as Raunchy Jules won the MPW heavyweight title was when the first time I went out there. I went out for Big West Wrestling, and a lot of my matches, I've crossed paths with Marty Sugar, and we've had quite a few. And that's, for me, it's the history. It's been, I did the math when I was doing Talk Down. I think it's been like 7 years since I've been out there. And, our styles have changed, or at least I know mine has. And I want to have that like knockdown, drag out fight. I want to have the match with somebody that we have, a pretty rich history, but we haven't come to blows in, almost a decade. Like I want that kind of build, that kind of hype behind it. And I want to go out there and, do my best to deliver on it. Marty is on that spot because, like I said, he's one of the guys that I have the most history with. But if I were to, sidebar that, and if I were to throw like an extra aside, a bonus match, I've got one more person who falls in that same category, where I've had a lot of matches. I have a lot of history. And now that I hear talks that he's wandering around Alberta again, Mr. Beefy Goodness Vance Nevada, and I believe the last time we crossed paths was when I defeated him for the MPW Heavyweight Championship. And I'd love to see what would happen now, and I'm sure we've got scores to settle with one another, and it would be a very different match in a very different era. So, that's another one I'd be more than happy to take on should the opportunity present itself to me.
Yeah, and he's a veteran guy too. Like, when I first started helping out at wrestling shows and stuff, it was out in Victoria, BC. And, I was like a backyard fella, and I just, I messaged my buddy, or I messaged a guy who is now my buddy. He wasn't my buddy at the time, but I messaged him, and we offered to film the shows and like do commentary. And I'm glad he didn't take us up on the offer, because it literally was my buddy holding a camcorder and talking, so it would have been the most horrible, like, not to disparage anyone, but it would have been very Andre Corbeil-ish. But anyway, but Vance Nevada was like a big part of those shows. And back when I first did the first time I ever was like on any kind of wrestling show, I interviewed Vid Vane for a segment at a Victoria City wrestling show that was aired on TV as a top-ranked wrestling thing. It was like 2005, and I don't think it actually ended up making the air, but it was filmed for that TV thing. And I know that Mr. Beefy Goodness, Vance Nevada, was one of the guys that was back there. And I remember specifically that I was wearing, like, I at the time was like nearly 300 pounds. It was a long time ago. It's like 2005, right? And I was wearing this really awful striped shirt with some like khaki pants, and I had suspenders on. And during my little segment there where I was interviewing Vid, and then Cremator and Machete Brown, who Cremator is like this big Undertaker style guy. I know. He still wrestles today. He's awesome. And then there was another guy named Machete Brown who was like a San Quentin prison inmate, was his gimmick, right? And they came out and they kind of beat me up a little bit, and then Vid Vane came out and made the save. But that was in like 2005, and there was one point where after they attacked me, I got up and I took my suspenders off and I pulled my asthma puffer out, and I gave a couple of puffs and was like, yeah, come on, let's wrestle. Like, let's fight, and then that's when Vid and his tag partner slid in the ring and made the save. But I remember going backstage and Vance Nevada was like, I popped so hard when you pulled your suspenders down.
That's awesome, though. That's 100% what you want, though, right? So, like, it's nice to have that compliment, right? And he's a guy that I've always looked up to. I've always looked for advice. He has given me more of his time and more of his help and more of his opinions than, in my mind, maybe than I ever really deserved. And he's a guy I'm forever indebted to. So, if that ever crosses my path, 100% I'll jump on that opportunity, because he is a real mentor to me, and I wouldn't be still doing this today if it wasn't for him. I wouldn't probably still be doing it at all. I probably would have walked away after my first couple of years where I was, having, very dwindling levels of success. And he motivated me. He inspired me. He helped me learn, so many important lessons that I wouldn't be in this position as a wrestler without him. And I know, at almost 35, I'm happy doing what I do. I'm probably not going to go on a level much further than this, but I will definitely do my best, and enjoy what I do here. Now, that being said, sidebar real quick, because I don't know how long your episodes are, and I don't want to drag out your runtime, but just because I will regret it if I don't, I did see NWA put out an open call for tag teams for the Crockett Cup, and I may be working with somebody on putting together a highlight package for the Dad Bod Squad to see if I can just on the off chance we could get booked for a match in the Crockett Cup, I'd lose my mind entirely. Now, am I expecting a no? Probably. But if I don't take the shot, I'll never know, right?
Yeah, I can only imagine. Like, that would be fantastic to be involved with, like, the NWA or whatever. Like, I'd love to do that too, but I don't want to speak for my tag team partners. Like, I'm pretty much tag teamed with Barricade as the Super Friends, but it's kind of one of those things where he's also started teaming up with Danny Evans now, so I'm not sure if that's been put on the back burner or whatnot, but maybe the Goose is out there without an actual tag team partner right now, which is kind of troublesome. But at the same time, I'll find somebody new. But I would love to be involved in something like that, NWA. Like, even just to be like the guy that shows up that 1 week to just like put somebody over, like on a WWE like house show or something, or like an episode of Raw where it's like, okay, they need a goofy dude that's going to come out and just get his fucking ass whooped by Braun Strowman or something. That's what I mean. Like,
yeah, that's what I mean. They need like an out of shape guy to go and job to this like ripped beast, and it's like, I'll bump for him for 3 minutes. Yeah.
And I
sign me up.
I do feel like, and I mean, I'm not trying to sound cocky or self-centered or big-headed or anything, but I feel like if you put me in an arena full of like 10,000 wrestling fans, I could probably get 10,000 wrestling fans to chant honk, honk, honk. and I think at that point people would be like, okay, we got our money's worth out of the Canadian Goose.
Right, and there you go, and that's all you needed, right? That you made it happen.
Anyway, this has been like a fantastic little thing. I like the whole like Cody Rhodes thing. That kind of took us on down the road through the entire length of the podcast, and I'm very glad. Rick, you obviously we talked about it. You don't really have any immediate dates on the forthcoming agenda here, but like I say, I mean. If Massive's got a show on Saturday as well as Squig, so I mean, get at some guys and get out there, bud. Like let's make some stuff happen, and hopefully sooner or later down the road, me and you will be able to share the ring together.
Hey, I would definitely take that chance if the opportunity presented itself. Both of these shows are the kind of things that I have my eyes on. Crowder and I kind of touched on this with Jupiter, where a lot of our friends right now have made their way over to RCW, and it's something that like we've got our eyes on. It's a very interesting place, but MPW also is a very interesting product with people I have my eyes on. People like the Sultan and Blake Cannon, and the recently announced for this show, Vance Nevada, right? So right now my eyes are kind of everywhere in Alberta wrestling and waiting to see, what is this landscape? What are the matches that I want to do, that I want to see? Like that's where I'm at right now. I 100% want to start looking at the option of getting back into the ring and on a regular basis instead of just like the odd appearance here and there. I really do want to make something happen, so I may start making some moves sooner rather than later.
100%. And I can tell you, personally, when I look at it and I'm like, okay, who on the MPW roster would I really love to wrestle the most? It definitely is Blake Cannon. Like I would love to wrestle Blake Cannon. I think we would have a tremendous amount of fun.
I believe it for sure.
Yeah, and like I don't see it happening anytime soon, but I really do hope that eventually at some point, our paths cross, because I don't know, something about Blake Cannon. I'd really like to punch him in the face.
He's got I love him, but he's got a very punchable face.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when I went to those the MPW Ripper Royals, and he came out, and I was like, the way he's dressed, I was like, this guy is like the second coming of Akeem, the African Dream. He is my favorite MPW guy, and yeah, I've never actually had a chance to wrestle him, but I would really like to, because we did a couple of shows together where it was RCW in like Pinoca or Radway or some out of town situation where it wasn't frowned upon for him to be on our show. At least as far as I know. So, and I hope one day he gets to come back and me and him can mix it up. But I'm very happy that we spent the whole time talking about your 6 Alberta Dream matches.
I love that it kind of started as like, let's tell your wrestling story, and then we just kind of took this wild sidebar on like, hey, these are, even though I'm a tag team guy, here are 6, singles matches that I'd love to have in the next year.
Yeah, 100%.
To any promoters listening if any of those matches sound interesting to you, feel free to reach out to me to book them.
Yeah. I mean, give my boy a call here, Squiggy. There's no reason not to. I'm sure the Edmonton fans would love to watch him wrestle Danny Evans or any of the other fellas in the match, and like the match between the Super Friends and the Dad Bod Squad would probably be pretty fun too. So, anyway, Rick, Jules, I want you to just give us a quick rundown. Where can we find you? Because I know you're quite prevalent on the Twitch and on the streaming and stuff. So if people are interested in watching you play, I believe Ratchet and Clank was the one I watched you play. But if there people are interested in watching you play some video games, where can they find you?
You can find me at twitch.tv/questforjules. I'm usually streaming 2 or 3 times a week. Right now, I've been playing the new Pokemon Legends Arceus. It's a variety, though, so it's kind of whatever I decide on or what my community decides on as a whole. I've been playing a lot of Dead Island lately, of all things.
Oh, okay.
So, come and check it out. The best way to find out is I do post my schedule on my socials, which is Rick.Jules on Instagram and Rick_Jules on the Twitterverse. Just because my real life and my home life is constantly revolving, I don't have a set schedule as it is. So day by day, I will post things online, typically in the morning as an advertisement for later that evening. So your best bet to stay up to date on that is just to give me a follow.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I think we could probably cut a whole podcast about like streaming and how that whole thing works. Because like I've gone on Twitch a few times just to like go down the rabbit hole, and there's some people that get like crazy amounts of like thousands upon thousands of views just to watch them play fucking Pokemon, and I'm like, yeah, this is crazy. It's nuts. I've never played Pokemon, but how is that new Pokemon game? Give me your 30-second review.
I want to say I'm a solid couple hours into it, and I'm on the boat of I love it so far. Everything about it is just goddamn phenomenal.
All right, solid. Well, hopefully we get to see you down in the future. Thank you very much for coming on the show. Say hello to your tag team partner, James Crowder, for me, and also to Blake Cannon, who was on the Dad Bod Squad episode that I did with you guys. So tell those guys the Canadian Goose says hi. Thank you very much for coming on Monday Night Shaw and being the first guest of 2022, bud. It's much appreciated.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, and I'm glad we were able to make it work out in the end.
Okay, solid. Well, we're gonna leave it there. And do you have any last words for any of your fans or whatnot?
At this point, it's keep your eyes peeled to social media and keep your eyes peeled to see where myself and or the Dad Bod Squad pop up in the wide world of wrestling.
Awesome, possum. Alrighty, this has been Monday Night Shaw right here on the Backbreaker podcast. Thank you very much for listening in to the show, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. In a much less time will go by between episodes. Thank you everyone for your understanding, and hope to see you soon. And honk, 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 honk.